Hi, hello, this is Jules the Human here, and welcome to the JulesTheHuman Anime Hour. I'm one of your hosts, Jules the Human, and every week we go out into the world and watch a little bit of anime, and we come back here and talk about it. And today's the first time that we're going to be talking about Kiznaiver, which was suggested by CZ out of the box here. Last week, we pulled a new anime out of the anime chest here, and there's a ton left up to watch for the future. So all of these are suggested by either me or Matt, and some of them are suggested by you by getting a $500 bits on Twitch. 500 bits gets you a suggestion of an anime into the chest, or a $5 super chat, not $500. $5 super chat on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube.
You gotta steal.
Yeah, I gotta steal. The prices went up. Prices went up. They are now 500. Now 500 bits if you like, and those go both to me and Matt. And you can suggest a new anime to go into the chest. Hello, everybody watching on YouTube over there. Supervisor, hello, and Thornrose, hello. Welcome in. We are streaming on Twitch and YouTube, but I don't go on these anime journeys alone because I go along with my co-host Matt Galley. Matt, how are you doing today?
Doing so good. So ready to explore a new anime, a new world. Another CZ pick, another one dealing with a lot of concepts of human nature, the human condition, what it means to be alive, what it means to live, laugh, and love. This one's already thrown a lot of stuff out of the bag from these first 4 episodes, and I mean, it's got me curious to see where we're gonna end up by episode 12 for sure.
Sure, and maybe some people maybe turned off on it because I know I was. We're talking about Kiznaiver, episode 1 through 4. I'm still on the fence. I don't know. I think the biggest questions are the ones I'm most. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about them because sometimes I'm just like, I don't care. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's like the biggest question here is what's going on? Why are they doing this? And then I really like what's going on, but then sometimes I'm just like, what matters? Why does this matter? And I'm kind of on the fence here. And I really want this anime to turn out good because I'm convinced that for some reason CZ is making us watch it for a reason. There's something good here. I hope there is only hope here because a lot of CZ's picks have been pretty good. So we are going to dive into Kiznaiver. We're going to start on episode 1. We go through the first 4 episodes today. If this is the first time you're watching us, we go through a bunch of anime, a couple episodes at a time, and you can watch them along with us and give your thoughts in the chats. But Kiznaiver, episode 1, sometimes a bond can bloom from the first day eye contact is made.
Love these titles, by the way.
These are great titles. Gonna have to write them all down. What happens in episode 1?
Katsuhira is apathetic to the world, seemingly always looking to take the easiest way out, frustrating his childhood friend Chidori. Even while being physically threatened by bullies, he seems to care more about the inconvenience of his clothing being torn. A fellow classmate, Tenga, scares off the bullies before Tenga and Katsuhira are both kidnapped by Sonozaki, another classmate. She explains to Katsuhira that the 7 deadly sins have taken a new form in modern-day Japan, also explaining the human desire for connection to others, whether it be positive or negative, before pushing Katsuhira down a flight of stairs. Katsuhira, along with other classmates, are gathered together by Sonozaki, who explains that the city they are living in is actually a massive social experiment. Everyone else leaves, skeptical to what has just been laid out. However, once they all start to share sensations of simultaneous pain, they realize that things are much more serious than they expected.
And he says the thing, they're Kiznaivers.
Leo point.
So yeah, he says the thing. First we got to start off with the song because the song was pretty vibey. Love the intro. Not a whole lot going on. It's more like a little dance tune, kind of like the song.
Yeah, but it's got like immediately once I saw like there's a lot of flashy imagery and stuff like that, but one of the images that does flash that I caught was it's like, oh, it looks like that's like a surgery light under a surgery table. So That's one of the first things that I thought that, like, somebody, one of the, things that's going to happen is they get operated on and something's going to be, they're going to probably have to do something. Like, that was like something that just caught my eye really quick. So
Gives us a glimpse at all of the main characters, the main Kiznaivers, and I think it's pretty good. So it was a good intro song, pretty vibey. And what caught my eye from the very beginning, for the very first episode, is that this anime looks really good. This animation, the colors, the movement. I really like that kind of movement. Maybe some people would not prefer them moving a whole lot, but I like that. I like when there's like a bunch of movement of the characters, and I really like it. So I really like the animation so far. The animation is, if I don't end up liking the story and where it goes, because right now I'm on the fence, but if it doesn't, I'm definitely giving it a high ranking for the animation because I really like it.
yeah, the animation and the sound design, like the music in the intro, really good. One thing that we get, like, we talk about first things that the show, likes to put in front of us is the image of him, like, looking at the cicada, and he brings up that don't they only live for a week?
Oh
And
yeah, yeah.
uh not to be that guy, but actually,
Oh,
cicada
you looked it up?
cicadas actually live for like years and years and years. What I think he's referencing is that they only live for a week or so, like up a week, 5 weeks after they come out of the ground,
I
in which they come out of the ground in order to reproduce, mate, and reproduce, and then that's when they die.
I only know that this week from a TikTok that I just watched not too
Really?
long ago because they were talking about how there's going to be on in next month there's going to be this huge eclipse that is happening that only happens once every bajillion years or whatever. But then they're also talking about how the cicadas, these two groups of cicadas, are coming out of the ground at the same time in like the same area as the eclipse. So this is like a once in a lifetime mini generational thing. So I just literally learned about that. So
Okay. But yeah, right here,
from
like,
one random TikTok.
I did a little research, and I just wanted to share this, that yeah, cicadas have life cycles ranging from 2 to 17 years, spending most of their life underground, only emerging to molt shells, become an adult, ready to mate and die.
Oh,
Symbolic of the cycle of rebirth in Eastern um religion, like Buddhism, and even in, there's a poem here from the 11th century, where the cicada casts her shell in the shadows of the tree. There is one whom I love well, though her heart is cold to me. And I just thought that
wow.
was like really interesting that here the opening shots of the show is him finding a cicada cast
Okay.
under a tree. And
Totally went
as we
unnoticed.
learn in the episodes to come, like, this is his childhood friend. Spoiler: she's was in love slash is in love with him, but is so cold to him, possibly because of the nature that he displays.
Yeah, so let's get into some of the characters we meet. We meet three big ones here. We meet Chidori, Katsuhira, and Tenga. And I love, because this is only a 12 episode anime, I love when they are so distinct already. Like all the so far in the three that we see here, and Sonozaki, of course. Not only super distinct in the way they look, but also in their personalities, even though later on, Tenga does go into some other things which I don't really like and it's very tropey of anime to do. But I love that we can automatically pick them out of a crowd and we know them. And that helps me because I am such a loser when it comes to anime, and it's very difficult for me if anime is moving too fast and we only have 12 episodes. I'm like, okay, who's this guy? Who's this guy? But from these three and for the group of Kiznaivers, I can definitely tell who is who, and I already have some of my favorites. So,
Yeah. Even if
um,
you forget their names, even if you can't remember that, like, their character designs and their personalities are so distinctive that you'll never like mistake one character for another
mhm.
while
So we
they're on
get
screen.
the first question that we really get is about Katsuhira and how he does not have pain, or he cannot
Mhm.
feel pain. And we get this little vignette right before the whole anime sort of kicks off of what we think is a young Katsuhira talking to possibly a young what's her name?
Sonozaki.
Sonozaki. And we don't know really the context of that. So they just kind of they just kind of throw it at you, and you're like, here it is. Whatever this is, we're gonna get some more flashbacks to it later in other episodes. But like this whole he doesn't feel pain. And like I'm okay with main characters having like a one thing. Like this guy, his head is really strong. And it's like, okay, cool, whatever. I'm fine with it. Him not feeling pain, I'm sort of like fine with it, because a lot of the times with main characters we get like a one thing that's like, oh, that makes them different, and it kind of adds to it, and they could play off of it in the future. So it's really interesting that that's what it is, and this whole thing is centered around pain. So
Mhm.
it's, it's sort of made for that. Don't know what that is. Don't know if we're going to get an explanation what it means for one for all and all for one about the pain stuff.
Which,
um
she says is actually a mistranslation or something like that, and
uh-huh.
it's actually all for one, victory for all, or all for victory.
Hmm.
One for
Something like
all
that.
for victory.
Yeah. um we get some dialogue from them to hear Sonozaki and Katsuhira talking about how everyone wants to carve their scars into someone else, talk about the seven deadly sins, how they're reimagined now. They're all bound by wounds here. The Kizna system is what they're calling it, and it's to turn them into Kiznaivers, and this whole city was built for it, but we don't know what that is. I'm intrigued, but then it's like almost past the realm of believability for me, because this whole city was an offshoot to make Kiznas, or try to make Kizna to get the perfect pairing of all to solve the world's problems, is kind of how they set it up. How does that work? Is my biggest question, I think.
I mean, I guess, like, when you get to something that it's at that level, for me, it starts to step away from, all right, I'm supposed to be taking this, like, narrative in for the reason of the city, but it's more so like supposed to be like, this is just the driving force that's allowing the conditions for the story to happen, and it's
Sure.
actually about X, Y, and Z, which I actually think, that, like, when it starts to get into the delving into everybody wants to be important to somebody, the thought, an idea of, like, that being positive or negative, um and the ideas of the how they're each supposed to embody one of the seven sins, but reimagined in this modern day. Like, I think
Mhm.
that's kind of what's supposed to be driving our interest as viewers,
Sure.
more than the intrigue behind the city, and that it's like, so I guess what I'm saying is that the world building from this first episode, to me, is showing to be less important than the character development, and what's going to be happening between the characters, because we talk about it a lot, where in some shows we'll get a lot of that world building and we'll get these great character moments, but then we don't get as much of, like, the characters just kind of like vibing and hanging out. But in this show, that's kind of all it is.
We get a lot of vibing,
That's
and
like
I'm
it, and
totally
that's all
okay
it
with
is.
it.
And
We get a lot
I'm
more
here for it.
characters. Yeah, we get a lot more characters later on in episode 2, and they're just kind of vibing, and
So
I'm okay with it.
I'm okay with it not wanting to set this, like, this world really somewhere where, like, I can believe it, because I'm more interested in these characters, what's going on with them, and seeing all of them kind of, like, bump heads and clash personalities against each other, especially after what we see in the second episode.
But I can also tell, and sympathize with people that think that this anime may suck going forward, because
If you
this is
don't like the characters, there's not going to be a lot here for you. Yeah.
yeah, because on episode 1, they give you a pretty good substance of what's going on and the direction forward. So as a first episode, I think it was really good in setting up the stakes and setting up what's going on, while still leaving questions, giving you some characters that you may enjoy, you may find interesting enough. And as a first episode, would you watch this continued. I can tell you
Yeah.
where on one of these episodes I was just kind of like, okay, I don't know. I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know if I would, but episode one.
After at least the first episode, like I've said in the past, it gives me these like angel beat vibes where you
Mhm.
have this ragtag group of all of these distinct personalities that are all being kind of asked to come together to overcome like a greater evil, so to speak.
Sure.
And Sonozaki is kind of like, in a sense, very much similar to um I can't remember if they call her angel or God in that show, but like, no, kind of just the this like big bad, but like is also somebody that slowly is revealed to just also maybe be more human than we are led to believe.
Definitely. And that leads us into they are Kiznaivers, one for all for victory. Um Dan says, okay, I just finished the fourth episode and I'm here now. Let's go. We did it. We just
You
stopped.
did
We
your
just
homework.
finished talking about episode one. And now episode two. If you can swallow a bizarre situation like this so easily, 2 buckets of barium shouldn't be a problem. Episode two.
The Kizna program is shown to connect all the way to the city mayor before Sonozaki prompts everyone to introduce themselves. They are reprimanded for giving surface level details of themselves before we see them all encounter situations that have them revealing their deepest secret that they wish to hide from others. After Katsuhira displays his apathy and lack of self confidence, Chidori reveals her secret to be that she used to love Katsuhira before he became apathetic. Katsuhira deciding to rephrase his introduction before we see Maki revealing hers.
Oh man.
Oh man.
Um, I don't have a whole lot of notes here because this was just
This is kind of just character reveals, more or less.
yeah, character reveals. We got the introduction of Yuta, Maki, Nico. Um, the first thing that I wrote here is that yes, like you said, it shows how deep it is, and if there's nothing more, well, at the end of episode four, we see that it gets a little bit more complicated there, and it adds those characters that we see in this little vignette here. But it shows that yes, the mayor is behind it, that there's more people to it, that this is a huge conglomerate of things going on in this city that we weren't aware about and the kids were not aware about either. That has just been happening. That has been behind closed doors, and those little figures that they see everywhere have been working. And there's a bunch of
Which I
businesses
didn't really
behind it.
question at all either.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the times in these anime, we just get like a bunch of cool stuff, like cute stuff, just
Yeah.
stuff to be there, and I'm okay with that. Um, who is your favorite episode two? Who's your favorite Kiznaiver so far? Because I think mine's Nico. She's pretty cute. She's
Nico's
silly. She
really
just wants to have
funny.
friends.
Yeah. She's just there to vibe and be all, yeah, eccentric. Um,
You called her eccentric.
yeah. um, out of all of them, like I thought I liked Utah, but then
Oh, it reveals. Yeah. So
but
his.
then like him and Tenga started to like get into it with each other, and I wasn't really sure what was going on. I think I just like Maki because she just is not taking any shit, and I just like
Sure.
that.
Yeah.
She's just kind of the first to be like, hold up, stop the bullshit.
Yeah. What's going on here? I don't want to deal with y'all. Y'all are a lot.
And I still
Get
can't
me out of here.
tell with her whole like I killed somebody before. Oh, JK, why are you guys being so real? Or I
Yeah.
can tell if that was her like asking why are they taking her seriously, or why are they treating the fact that she did that seriously. But I think it's the latter. I think it's the second one.
Sure. Um. This was yeah. I don't really have much to say about this episode. I mean, we find out that Tenga calls him the big dog. Like it's just like character building to and I'm glad they're doing it in episode two. I mean,
Yeah.
right now is the time to do it. We get some interactions between all of them. How and we I can definitely clearly after this episode tell you how most of these are going to react, most of these characters are going to react to certain situations because now after this we know their deepest, darkest secrets, and we have a better understanding of who they are. We don't get a whole lot. I mean, the only thing that we get about the Kiznaivers is that they share pain together. So essentially, the pain is split in between all 7 of them that they don't know about, but it is split between them. But then I don't know if it's this episode. I think it's the next episode. So I'll talk about it then. But and that what's her name? There's so many names. Chidori loved Katsuhira in the past, but now he's become sort
In the
of
past.
yeah, in the past, and because he's now changed for some reason. He's changed to be sort of apathetic. He doesn't have pain. He is a few different things. He's trying to figure it out. He doesn't know if he enjoys life or what he is. He doesn't think he understands himself. But that main message that is being pushed on is that everyone wants connection, that everybody craves connection, and Katsuhira kind of takes it to heart as well, and we see his journey about that through the next 4 episodes.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. I do like that even though he does feel like apathetic, he's very like up to exploring why he feels that way, but it
Yeah.
seems as though that like, the world has never really given, at least up to this point that we've seen, the world has never really been like reactive to him acting that way. He's just
Mhm.
been able to, again, like kind of always take whatever he thinks the easiest way out of any situation is. That just seems to be what he does. So it's interesting to see that he wants to like kind of understand why he feels that way, but it does leave the question open to like how he went from the kid that we see in the flashbacks to where he's at now.
Sure. And I think he's getting some of that from Sonozaki, like him seeing her maybe triggering something in him, that he may have seen her before, or he knows that she needs somebody. I don't know. I mean, because we don't have a whole lot about Sonozaki right now. She just seems to be the leader of this whole thing that's happening to them, that is unfortunate or maybe fortunate, because now she's sending them out on missions. The first mission was to get to know each other, as we saw in this one.
And then we
And then
get
mission
that
later,
that their final mission will be to survive summer together.
survive summer, yes. And that will be their final mission, and they'll
Well,
be
that's next
done,
episode.
I
But yeah.
guess. So yeah, I mean, just a lot of great character building. I like these characters so far. I think it was on episode 3 where I was like, I gave it the whole 3 episodes of anime. What do you think about it? I think after episode 3, I was still kind of on the fence. But I can see where it's going. What?
Just episode 3 got a good laugh out of me. All I gotta
Okay.
say. We'll get to it.
But yeah, I like the characters. Cool.
I like
Oh,
the
because
characters, and yeah, I'm very like it's I'm convinced that I will be entertained by like all of them bouncing off of each other as time moves forward. It almost this one brings me back to the same vibe as like Gotchaman Crowds, even,
sure.
where it's
Yeah.
like it's not really about the Gotchaman fighting, the enemies. It's all
It feels
about
like the same vibe, yeah.
it's all about these little like what's going on within the episode and how are the characters gonna like respond and react, and if that's kind of how the structure is moving forward in like these like small acts, act 1, 2, act 3, where we see act 1 kind of close at the third episode, where like now the whole gang's together, right? The Avengers have assembled, and now as episode 4 ends, we see the next act kind of like starting to begin with their
Definitely.
training camp.
Looking over my notes, I just remember what happens in episode 3. So depending episode 3,
Yeah.
depending on how you look at it, I think we could get through anything, right? Is the title of the episode. So what happens in episode 3 of Kiznivers?
Maki says that she was lying, asking why everyone is taking things so serious. Sonozaki reveals that collectively their final task will be to survive the summer together. Tenga moves in with Katsuhira, then discovering that Chidori lives next door as well. They all experience pain that morning with a message D7 appearing from their wrist. After gathering together, Maki puts forward the idea that there might be a seventh Kiznaiver, which Sonozaki confirms as their next mission is to find them. After an investigation of the classroom, they come to the conclusion it must be the absent student Hisomu. The Hisomu crisis occurs, with Katsuhira throwing himself into traffic, which ends the Hisomu crisis, and we see Sonozaki debrief a group on how the seven sins have been brought together.
Okay. Um,
He's blissing out.
he's
He's gonna bliss.
he's gonna bliss. In my comments, I just put bro jizz in. So their main mission here is to survive the summer. Something really interesting that may play into later is that they don't feel residual pain, while all of their pain initially is split between the seven of them. Now that we know, they don't feel the residual pain altogether. It is held by the one person that got the pain. So that may come into effect later. That might be something that happens at the end. It could be like a little thing that they drop. What is it? Chekhov's gun there. That'll happen towards the end, possibly. But mission 2 is to find the seventh. And all of them are like, oh no, he's hot. When they finally see him, immediately Yuta is jealous of how he looks and a bunch of different other things. Claire
they
says
all run so awkward.
They all do. Yeah, for sure.
Like they run with their like arms up.
Yeah.
And just like, are you trying to catch him or what are you doing?
Claire says, I felt Gatchaman crowds had an interesting world society, which I liked. In contrast, it seems to be focused around a central mystery. By after 4 episodes, they failed to convince me they'd reveal it. And if they did, I've no confidence it'd be meaningful, satisfying. That's where I'm at too. That's kind of where I'm like, I have to play it out. But within these episodes, I really want to know what the reasoning is here. But then ultimately, I think it's going to be the Kiznaivers we met along the way. You know what I mean?
Exactly. That's what I mean.
It's going to reveal itself to be a thing, but it's going to say, but look at the beautiful story we gave you with these characters. And it's like, will that be enough? I don't know. So that's kind of where I'm feeling. Claire said, I don't have to, but if you do get to the end and tell me it's amazing, I'll go back and watch the next 8. Okay, I'll let you know for sure. So Hisomu is the newest one. He is the 7th. He is an interesting character. They had a wild sort of supermarket sweep thing that happened in this. Some of their jokes are a little off color.
Yeah.
And especially with Tenga.
Off kilter for sure.
And I don't know when this was made. It was just kind of
I think I saw that it came out in like 2014.
Okay. Yeah. It was just a little odd. I mean, I don't know.
2016. Whatever. At least it aired on Crunchyroll in 2016.
Oh.
Which looks about right.
Sure.
For its art style.
It was also made by Trigger. I mean, the art style is pretty good. Yeah. So we meet this new character, Hisomu, who is we find out later he's a masochist. But most of this is the milk crisis. One more time. Milk crisis looking for him. I mean, it's just them doing things. And I'm kind of mad, but I'm not really mad because I'm okay with them doing. I want to know the thing. Why are they doing this? Why are they in this pain circle here? But these characters are just hanging out and being little silly goofy guys, and I'm kind of okay with it. I don't know. Where do you feel on this whole episode? Because it is another just sort of character building with a little
if we're gonna have a milk crisis, have it be episode 3.
Sure.
As long as that doesn't become the standard of like the what every chase / action sequence is going to culminate in. I'm okay with it being like this silly little thing that they want to do to introduce the last Avenger, the last character, getting everybody all together, the gang's all here.
I think that I'm all set on chase sequences and I'm all set on character development, and if they keep going forward and doing things to progress a story, I'm down.
I like character development in the terms of like establishing the characters, but I now
Sure.
want to see these characters be pushed to become like I mean they're being set up as like, sins, that's not really in a positive connotation exactly. Even when Sonozaki is originally explaining everything, Katsuhira is like, I can't help but feel like you're just talking bad about everybody.
Yeah.
And
And there's those little jokes like that are
yeah,
like funny and it's cute. And I'm just
yeah.
like, oh,
There's enough there that like the show gets like consistently like it's constantly keeping me engaged with the dialogue, again, minus when Tenga says something like I'm gonna violate you, and I'm
yeah.
just like, please don't say that.
Yeah. Don't say like, bro, don't do that.
um
Or
anyways,
I think it was this episode too where was it this episode where Yuta and Maki have their sort of standoff at the bus
that's the
station or the train
fourth
station?
episode.
Okay, that one too, where they're talking and they're. I mean, I do like Maki. Maki's kind of cool, but like those that kind of war of words, and then they were saying she was making fun of him for being fat in when he was a kid, and I'm like, "Mm,
Well,
okay,
that's, I mean, he only did it after
no,
like
no, no, yeah, for sure, her too, yeah. What did he say? Your boobs aren't
he
that
said
big or
her
something?
yeah, he was basically, yeah, just like, hey, your tits are big.
Yeah.
And she was like, hey, your tits
Oh
probably
yeah,
used to
yours
be
were big.
bigger. Huh.
Yeah, yeah,
And then he
yeah.
was like, okay, your personality definitely does suck.
Yeah.
And
So yeah, so that
that's the
kind of
thing, like they're not really set up to be like protagonists. They're all kind of like anti-heroes or
sure.
of like, they're not all like direct heroes. They're all like, the
But then
seventh
isn't
guy is
that
immoral. That's
sure.
literally his thing. But
But is this trying to say something about all humans?
I think so. And that's the thing that like
How
I
we're
want
all
to see the show move forward in a direction where it's like about them like still learning to like form bonds and create friends while overcoming the things that, make them fall into being a sin.
like if we take the worst people out of these sins that we labeled them, if we take the worst of them, put them together and they can become friends and they can form a connection and survive and work together under this Kiznaiver all pain is equal thing, then there's hope for humanity. I think that's
I
what I'm
think
leaning
that's where
towards.
that's the direction it's going in, and I'm very curious to see the type of situations and ordeals that they get put through that pull that human side out that pull that human side out of them to see them overcome those their differences.
Because in theory, that works, right? I mean, these are just kids. This is not the most intense situations ever, but it's technically a test for if everybody felt each other's pain all the time, wouldn't we want to work together and stop this sort of pain? Even though you don't feel the residual pain, if all of everybody in the, if you felt everybody's pain in a city, that would move mountains. Maybe you would think, you would hope,
You
actually.
one would hope.
So we get a breakdown of all the different sins as they tell them to us. So we have imbecile, musclehead thug, eccentric headache, high and mighty, annoyingly self-righteous, cunning, normal, immoral. Oh, that's all of them. Okay.
Yeah.
um. Oh, and we also get this guy just jizzing
Immoral.
out because he is immoral, and we find that out, and he's a masochist, and he felt the pain. He likes. Well, we'll get into it in the
I
next
mean,
episode.
that's the thing is I'm going back to like, they figure out, oh, we can just bonk ourselves and then he makes a noise. So let's just keep following the noise. And you can like hear his like shouts, and the first time watching it, it's kind of like it sounds a little off, but like, you don't know the character, so you're not really thinking about it. But then after finding out that he's a masochist and he takes pleasure go in pain, as I'm going back to grab the screenshots for this one, I'm like, those aren't shouts of pain. Those
No,
are definitely moans of pleasure that he is
sure.
displaying the entire episode.
Yikes! Yeah, not the best thing. I'm not the biggest fan of that,
I
but
mean,
I mean
like
they have to. Do
it's
they? I don't know. Honestly, I'm fine with him being a male character
If
this
you're
time.
gonna make a story where you're contextualizing the 7 deadly sins in the modern day, and one of those is uh the sin of lust that has to be recontextualized. I think they pulled it off in a pretty anime way.
Yeah.
It could have been way worse.
Yeah, and I'm happy it's a male character for
It could have
once.
been like it could have been, that that whatever side that Tanga displays just turned up to 11.
Yeah, that could have
It
been
could have
that
done something
stuff.
like that, but it didn't
Which
get into that type of stuff. It
yeah,
decided to make it like, "Oh no, I just enjoy pain
like the
myself."
actual physical pain
Yeah, and as
of
long as,
myself.
he's not enjoying other people's pain, technically he is, but it's like, there it's a shared pain, and I'm sure the show will get into something about that concept. Like
Uh
it's already hinted at it, but anyways.
Sure. On to which Claire says, or would completely paralyze society and nothing would get done, since even with effective collaboration, ensuring no one is in pain seems impossible. In theory, you don't know. We'll find out by the end of this anime if it'll actually
Even
work.
even with effective collaboration, ensuring no one is in pain seems impossible. Not ensuring the impossibility that nobody feels pain, but it's about, to me, it's like having those security guards at certain stores where, like, even if somebody's stealing, they can't do anything. But it's more about the visual that there's a security guard there. The concept that doing pain unto others would bring pain back unto you might alone be a deterrent enough to keep
Oh,
people
okay.
from doing harm unto
I see what you
others,
mean.
is where I'm trying to draw the
It
parallel.
may deter people from
And
in the most
maybe
extreme
a
cases.
deterrent is enough alone of a justification of it. Is it? I'm not saying it is. I'm just putting forward the conversation topic.
Sure, and that's what the anime is doing as well. Um I love this picture. This is great. He jumps off the bridge and he lands in another car and he's just in pain. He had a mild concussion, but he doesn't feel pain. So he's all good. He's all fine. Claire says, think how much pain is beyond anyone's ability to control, though. Accidents and illness, for example. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
That's a good point.
We could try.
We could try.
If it was just you and a couple of friends. Actually, I don't even know why I would do that. I already we're fine. I'm fine. It's not me that I'm
I
worried
forgot
about.
what other, like, a show or movie game brings up that thing, but it, like, brings forward the topic of, like, if one person, I can't even remember a whole bomb collar concept. If one collar goes off because of somebody else in the group doing something to somebody else, like, all the collars go off, and is that enough of a deterrent to keep them all from, like, to keep them all cooperating? It's like that, but in an anime form, and I'm forgetting where that original concept I'm bringing up is from. I'm gonna have to do some research to bring that one
Sure.
back around.
So the gang is all together. We get the gang of 7, the Kiznaivers all together.
It's from
What?
Fallout New Vegas.
Oh,
It's one of the DLCs in Fallout New Vegas. A guy keeps kidnapping people, trying to bring them to casino for them to break into a vault, putting a bomb collar on all of them. And if any one of them, like, if their lifeline goes out, all of their bomb collars goes off. So they're all bad people, but they'll have to collaborate in order to get the job done for this guy and then get their collars off and able to leave.
huh. Never
Just,
played it.
yeah, sorry, just drawing more drawing parallels to other media, because
We are
it's interesting ways of doing a thought piece on, humans under extreme conditions, almost like another anime we just watched.
it's a lot. There's a lot of thinking for these
It's
animes.
definitely a CZ recommend.
So we're finally able to obtain the true connection with all of the Kiznaivers all together, and now we get into episode 4, which is titled "Now That We're All Connected, Let's All Get to Know Each Other Better." Okay, episode 4. What happens?
Hisamu gets more of a full introduction in a group setting before everyone returns home for the evening. Maki is shown being cold to Nico, then giving Yuta the burn of the century. Hisamu antagonizes Chidori about seeming to envy Katsuhira's fascination with Sonozaki. Hisamu suddenly returns to school, surprising everyone, prompting a share of contact information before Sonozaki rounds up the Kiznaivers for a group exercise and to announce that they're going to have a training camp. Katsuhira chases after Sonozaki to invite her to attend the camp as well as ask for her contact info. The bullies are shown to be plotting against Tenga, and we see Chidori being thoughtful, bringing both Tenga and Katsuhira bento boxes for dinner. En route to the training camp, Sonozaki reveals to the group behind the Kizna program, and her exposition is cut off by the arrival of the bus. Tenga picks up on Chidori still having feelings for Katsuhira, which he clumsily offers to help with, and the school counselor is shown to have possibly made some Kiznaivers of her own.
Is that what that is?
I mean, they have that like same scar, but on their forehead. The scar that
Oh,
was on the everybody else's wrists. And
yeah.
it was we also see it on Sonozaki's like neck at one point in one of the flashbacks. I didn't grab a screenshot of that, but that's also something shown off.
Oh, I didn't catch that. I thought she was going to be a sort. Well, I mean, I don't know if she is the villain or the school counselors are doing something crazy, but that was pretty crazy scene in the arcade. So find out
What
he's
is
a
like
mask.
the flashback sequences where everything's like all red? It just makes me think that like were they a part of like the first run of the Kiznaivers and like that's how things ended up with
I
like
mean,
the
they
bridge having to be like cut off from the rest of the world and quarantine happened or something. It's just it
they
keeps showing it off.
they do allude that this is not a one-time thing, that they've been doing it for multiple iterations of it. I can't draw any conclusions from that because they don't
Yeah.
give a whole lot. They just
Not
show
a
it
whole
to
lot.
us, and that's about it. So, um, we get some more information about how he's a masochist. He wanted the feeling of being alive. That his situation was different than the other ones because she was Sonozaki asked him, said, "Do you want to know the feeling of being alive?" And he says yes. And they, or who was it? He was talking to Katsuhira, and he was like, that's interesting. That's an interesting way to put it. Dan says on YouTube, yeah, she flicked one of the bullies' heads and the other's scar lights up.
Yeah.
Oh, I missed it. I
It
missed
was a
it.
blink and you miss a moment for
Yeah,
sure.
I blinked.
Yep. Oops.
Oh,
Still going.
um, see, I'm on. I hate it because this is giving me this anime, and I know I'm not like everybody, and everybody has their own opinions about what they like to watch. This anime is giving me what I like. I want these little characters to do little fun stuff, to do whatever. They're eating a bunch of fried rice together. In this one, they do an outfit change into their summer outfits, and they do like an outfit change, and they're on a bus together. They're playing little games, and we find out how different Sonozaki is, or doesn't really understand, or there's maybe a disconnect there from her, and why maybe she hasn't made friends until now. But and they're just little characters doing little things, and like I like it, and I'm like, I'm here. I like being in this little moment. They're doing little silly stuff, and I'm cool with this anime. But then in the back of my head, I'm like, what is happening? Why are we doing this? What is all this stuff? So all the questions are kind of taking away, or maybe all the fun. Like I really want to like this anime because they're just doing little things. Even though the supermarket situation was a whole thing, I thought it was cute. Like
Mhm.
them chasing them. I'm like, down, cool. Them hanging out, them getting to know each other with their deepest, darkest secrets. I'm down for that. Love
Mhm.
Nico, super cute. But like
Ooh.
the over that shadow of boom, what are we doing? Is just in my face throughout the whole thing. So I'm like conflicted.
Yeah. Again, it's like that's why I guess that's why I compare it to something like Gotchaman Crowd so quickly is because that I feel like at least in terms of our podcast was the first show that we watched where the overarching narrative didn't really matter more than like just kind of like yeah whatever the characters were up to on a moment to moment basis. I feel like this show is trying to allude to the fact that there's more actually going on, and it might dive into that at some point, but I don't necessarily think that's the direction I want the show to go, because like you said, I'm just more interested in seeing and like I was saying earlier, I'm more interested in seeing these characters and the different types of like I guess moral dilemmas, the type of like character revealing moments and things that are going to push them past the past their limits, because that's actually one of the first things that we see said as well before after Tenga accidentally choked out um Katsuhiro in the first episode. Sonozaki appears and she said, you pushed too far, but if you don't push at all, you will never get results, something like that. So I want to see how these characters are going to get pushed, and I want to see the types of reveals of their true nature that they are still holding back.
Yeah, because they are so readily put into these categories. The imbecile, musclehead thug, eccentric headache. Annoyingly self-righteous and cunning normal are kind of interesting to me. But
I think the cunning normal, like cunning normal, I think it's trying to describe Yuta. Which one would I'm forgetting which one I was
what are the
thinking,
7
'cause
deadly sins?
yeah, exactly. They're each kind of like relating to a
Okay,
sin, but
sure.
pride. I think that one's like relating to pride, the sin of pride.
I would say high and mighty, maybe, or
Maybe
greed. I don't know.
yeah, I
Let
don't
us know
know.
in the comments. What do you think
Um,
cunning normal is alluding to in connection with the 7
but
deadly
I think it's
sins?
trying to describe him as like somebody that is he's trying to play himself off as like a cool guy, but he knows that like he is playing people for like his own gains,
Sure.
or so to speak. Like we see him even try to make a move on Maki, so to speak, and then she shut him down really quick.
Yeah.
um so like he seems like just like a nice guy, but he's actually just kind of, a snake in the grass, so to speak.
Okay. Definitely. I feel that. We get information that that Sonozaki is the leader of the Kizuna committee, which is what they're called. And that is most of the city, that is a lot of businesses, that it is a lot of people all around this city that was built for this. And under plain sight, these people are working for this whole thing to happen, to be pulled off, and for this to help humanity in some way. The teacher, I don't know what this was. This was kind of crazy, and we didn't get any sort of like.
The counselor.
I was just so. This scene was wild because she's just talking, and she has the two bullies behind him, and then she just pulls out a real gun and starts shooting. That was kind of baller, kind of
Yeah.
like the counselor for that. It was kind of crazy, and it just like was, what the fuck is happening here? But then they kidnapped her, and then apparently, which I didn't catch it, they are now Kiznaivers of their own, or some extent of Kiznaivers. So
Yikes.
yeah, so what do you think? Where do you think this anime can go? What do you think is one thing that you would maybe like to see by the end? Because we've only seen the first 4 episodes of Kiznaiver, and where maybe some of your predictions, or where you would like it to go, or what you ultimately think this anime is trying to say. Any way you want
I
to, I
definitely
can go
yeah,
with it.
I definitely think by the end of it, it's like again, it's going to be the real Kiznivers were the friends we made along the way,
Sure.
where it's going to be about these characters learning to overcome their faults and the parts that are holding them back, in order to kind of learn to understand each other and become like, just be more human to one another, and for some of them themselves, because yeah, I want to see Katsuhira like love himself, man.
Sure.
He's just this like little guy that like, everybody is just always pushed around. He doesn't give anybody problems or anything, but he just doesn't have any interest in like learning about himself, or like he even said, he never stopped to question why Chidori was always so interested in him and giving him so much attention, and he never stops to just think about the world around him, and I want to see him become more appreciative of that.
Speaking of some of the characters in Chidori, there was an interesting scene in episode 4, this one right
This
here,
one, yeah.
where Chidori is kind of apprehensive for the help of Tenga. And they lingered a lot on this. And Tenga ultimately understands that she is pained by this, and he understands that she does really love him. And I want to know, do you think that that empathy that Tenga had was always in him, or is it something that's changing slowly? Because he is the, as they call it, the musclehead thug, and we've seen him be sort of mean and rude in the way he talks to women and that sort of thing. But then in his connection with Chidori over these past couple days, he sees her that she's really pained, and he's like, well, I can actually help you with that if you'd like, and in any way that I can. And he has this empathy moment. Do you think that is something that's changed within him, or do you think he was this kind guy behind this musclehead mask?
It makes me stop and think, because like he in the first episode, what we see him do initially is actually help Katsuhira get out of his like
Yeah, that's
bullying
true.
situation, which
But
makes me think
for
that like, he's got this, he's got a like wants to put on a rough hard exterior, but deep down he's just this soft guy that wants friends and is scared of dogs.
but for 50% of his money. So I don't know. The
I think
situation seemed
there's
a
a
little
part of
different.
that where he was like, there's a part of that where he was just joking too, because I think at one point he was like, I'm just joking, like I'll give you I can't remember. I can't remember about that. He seems to be, at least initially, it's hard to tell because of
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
that's why I asked, because I wasn't sure, because I think what will ultimately change them is the connection now that they've made. I mean, we've seen it to where in other anime that this connection, this friendship that happened changes people to be act a little different, or to change their ways, or to change possibly how they've been doing things. And I'm curious if this sort of, while it is still sort of shallow because it's only been a couple days, maybe 2 days, maybe we're starting to see signs of change in them and not to be as sinful as they've been shown already.
I mean, that's exactly what I was looking for. So yeah, like you said, it was a moment that they lingered on a lot, and that is, it definitely brings me into question of like, Chidori describes them as childhood friends and stuff like that, but that like it seems that Katsuhiro and Sonozaki are also childhood friends to some degree, or at least just childhood like co patients of some experiments
Sure.
or something. So he has history with both of them, and that's something where I'm curious as well to see, like, as Katsuhira explores the idea that Sonozaki is also wanting to connect with somebody, um who we have not seen her be very like,
She got
uh
into her summer outfit though, and she's
yeah,
so
she did.
cute. She
She was
wants to
just
be
sitting on the
friends.
bus already. That got to me.
Yeah,
Like she was
she
she was
wants
there, like she was ready to go. She
she wants the connection.
So like again, as they explore that relationship developing, it makes me wonder how the relationship with Chidori and Katsuhira will also develop, with this love triangle of sorts kind of developing
Sure.
as we see. It makes
Um,
me at least like I'm invested in that, if anything.
Claire says predictions. It's a headless blunder operating under the illusion of a master plan, but maybe you'll get some nice character development. Yeah. Something else that also like sort of while you were saying that, maybe it is sort of a Darling in the Frank situation, but then it also uh went into my head about the counselors. The counselor and the people that are working at the school are older, but maybe these are just kids brought into adult situations and they're too young for the world that they were brought into. They don't even know what's they're fighting their elders battles and they just don't even know it. Like it could just be something that they were brought into, because how do we even how do they get here? Why are there kids here anyways? Are they just picking kids to be this? Are they just picking kids to be Kiznaivers and they're just set up to do their own little plaything for adults to try out and test and possibly die because of all this stuff? Like maybe it is just that the
Dang.
adults are
Getting
bringing
high
them in.
school kids to fight for interests beyond their mental capacity, beyond their the scope of what they can even conceptualize
Don't you
for
say it.
the interests of, you know, these figures that are just so much larger than life to us. Dang.
It's almost like an attack.
What a fantastical otherworldly concept I can't wait to see explored.
It's like something like Titanus above them, like just bigger than what they are. Oh, that anime sucks. Anyways, no, it could be that. Like I also think that there's a way to maybe put that in. That's because now that I've seen episode 4, Sonozaki does essentially could possibly be just some another kid brought into this, and we don't really know. I mean, they said she's in her class, she's in their class, so it's around the same age. They're just kind of brought into this thing and they just don't even know really or understand what's happening, and it could just be above them that this society has brought that onto them. They have to do this, and it could be that. And now at the end, for some reason, they understand that, and then they mutiny and fight off the city of people and say, "No, we're not going to do this any longer. You ruined our lives, and this is stupid. And I don't want to be a Kiznaiver anymore." And then walks off the bridge.
Drops mic.
Yeah, I don't know. Could have go a whole bunch of ways. I really am invested in the characters. I really like the characters so far. I think the animation is kind of the high point of it. Um, and I'm curious if I'm going to keep that connection to the characters, because I don't know if I'm super connected to the story that they're telling, but if they give us these moments, I feel like I could cry by the end with these
Yes,
characters,
I'm way
and I'm
more
prepared.
sold. I'm way more sold on the themes and the concepts that the show is putting forward that are going to be explored by the end of the first season versus the actual story that's like in the world that's being developed. And to some people that's going to be a big positive, to some people that's going to be a big negative, and it's definitely things that I'm going to be thinking about as we move forward closer towards ranking this anime with the community.
So that was the first 4 episodes of Kiznaiver, and tune in next week for episode 5 through 5, 6, 7. I always forget
Five,
5
six,
through 8.
seven, eight.
5 through 8. Watch 4 episodes before next week. We'll watch them as well. Come back, give us your thoughts either on Twitch, YouTube, or on X, wherever you're watching. We appreciate it. If you're on YouTube, hit that like button. It helps out a whole lot. And on YouTube, you can also see all the past episodes of anime that we've done. We've done a ton of anime. There's a playlist of all the episodes there, or you can watch on Spotify. But Matt, where can they find you when you are not blissing out?
If not the blissing out. You could follow me on my Twitch at Matt_Galley. Follow me on my socials. Just add an ITS at the front. Make it. It's Matt_Galley. Yeah, I've just been playing a lot of video games off stream with the homies recently.
A lot of
A lot of
Helldivers.
Helldivers. Stardew Valley, new big patch for those of you that didn't know. Been playing that too. Jules, where can the people find you when we're not here talking about the friends we made along the way?
You can find me on YouTube, youtube.com/JulesTheHuman. If you're watching on Twitch and you're like, why isn't he streaming anymore? I stream on YouTube now, youtube.com/JulesTheHuman. You can find all my content there. I post up a bunch of shorts, a bunch of long form videos, and I've been doing streams. Oh, excuse me, that's streams over there on YouTube as well. We've been playing some Helldivers. I've been recently getting to Monster Hunter, and it's been pretty fun. So I may do some Monster Hunter streams in the future, but Yeah, you can find this podcast, like I said, we upload it again on Fridays, and you can find it on Spotify if you want it on the go. You can watch these videos on Spotify as well, and just look up the Jules Anime Hour. Next week, watch episode 5 through 8 of Kiznaivers on Crunchyroll. It says season 2, but it's the right season. So if you're like, is this season 2? You're on the right spot. So Kiznaivers, episode 5 through 8 before next week, and we'll talk about them. And yeah, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.